when I was 8 years old, something very scary happened. And that is that I started experiencing visual hallucinations. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to this special little corner of the internet for you and I to share, sit down, have some tea, and chit chat. I actually am very literally gonna have some tea. It's brewing, it's steeping, it's being prepped as we speak right now. So very excited. Hope you'll join me. And I also hope that my bra won't pop out throughout the filming of this video. It might, because I don't have a strapless bra, and that's kind of what this top needs. So, fair warning, might pop out a little bit. It's fine, it's fine. I don't even know where to start. This is going to be a typical Molly Rambles video. Hope you're ready. I am going to be chatting about Charles Bonnet Syndrome. If you guys learn anything from this video or find it insightful or enjoy, I would love it if you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified when I upload, and of course give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed it. And the reason I'm choosing to talk about Charles Bonnet Syndrome is because it's something that I've lived with since I was about 8 years old, and many people in the vision loss community live with, but it is vastly underreported and it is underdiagnosed. It isn't talked about enough, and there is an increasing need in our community for awareness around Charles Bonnet Syndrome, not only for those of us living with vision loss, but for people in the medical field, for optometrists, ophthalmologists, psychologists, neurologists. We need everybody to know about this and be more aware. It was first reported in 1760, but didn't become like an official syndrome or officially known until I believe the 1980s. I think it was 1982. So this is not like a new syndrome. This is not a new condition that people are dealing with. As I said, it was first discussed in 1760. So this has been around, and it's estimated that 1 in 2 people dealing with vision loss will experience Charles Bonnet Syndrome. But it is very hard to know the exact number because so many people are afraid to talk about it. And honestly, I'm afraid to talk about it because when you use the word hallucination, tea lady. Thank you, tea lady. You guys. Okay, so for those who can't see, I'm holding a white mug, and I got it because on it there's these tactile lips. It's by a potter called Jonathan Adler, and on the other side there's a tactile mustache. It's super cute, but in it, helping steep the tea, so there's the lips on it, and then in it is a lips tea steeper that's pink and purple, and it's just like lips on lips. So cute. Okay, it's probably steeped, so I'm gonna remove the steeper. So yeah, the moment you use the word hallucination, right, there's a lot of like stereotypes or connotation behind that word. But that is the reality of what people with Charles Bonnet Syndrome are living with, is visual hallucinations. A lot of you have probably heard me talk about my fireworks. That is how I experienced Charles Bonnet Syndrome. So we're gonna wind it on back. When I was 8 years old, something very scary happened. And that is that I started experiencing visual hallucinations, which I did not know at the time that that's what they were. My family didn't know that that's what they were. I began seeing all of these really intense, vivid, crazy colors. Colors were mismatched. I couldn't tell what color was what. Colors were flipping with each other. I was seeing stars, shapes, geometric patterns. It was terrifying. Do you wanna pipe in and say maybe how you felt when I came to you guys?
Yeah, it was so scary. I mean, of course, the only thing I could think immediately was it was something to do with your eye disease, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but we waited 3 days maybe to get word back from your doctor because, doctors are very busy. So in those 3 days, it was scary. And of course you were at school. I think I had to go pick you up from school.
And I remember because I'll get into this more, at this point in my life, I've lived with it 24/7 since I was 8 and I'm 27, so for almost 20 years. So at a certain point, I was able to see past it. I was able to just accept it as normal. But at the beginning, and this is what a lot of people do experience, it interrupts your vision. So you can't see properly because you're seeing this visual hallucination. And so I couldn't see colors. I couldn't figure out when I was trying to say in class, I was in grade 3, draw an image of a tree. With my coloring pencils, I couldn't tell what color was what. So I would be drawing a tree and the trunk would be blue and the leaves would be orange, instead of being a brown trunk with green leaves. And I remember distinctly, and my grade 3 teacher was truly a special kind of evil. She was awful. Was she not, Neve?
Yes. Not very popular with the parents.
With any parents. Like, it wasn't just evil to me. She was a very mean teacher. I distinctly remember her discussing with my vision itinerant in front of me that I was faking it.
Well, that was the teacher that wouldn't allow you to have a vision itinerant teacher.
Right, so it must have been my EA.
But then you did get somebody. But we had to really like push.
Yes, she didn't want me to have a vision itinerant or an educational assistant, which I had 100% support growing up in school, because I think honestly, my assumption is she didn't want another adult in the room seeing how she was treating students.
Yeah.
That's my assumption. So my family had to like really push back and fight. But there was a vision itinerant or an EA there that I remember her distinctly discussing that I was faking this for attention. To invalidate an 8-year-old child who was going through something that, believe me, was very scary and concerning for me and my family, we tried to make light of it, you know? We tried to just make jokes. That's how my family and I have always dealt with things. Humor is my coping mechanism, and it is for my parents as well, oftentimes. And so
I would say many times.
Always, usually. And so we tried to just kind of like make light of it, just to make me feel less scared and probably my parents feel less scared. But at the time when we finally got an answer that like, okay, this is normal and it's due to the deterioration of her retina and this is something people experience, they didn't give a name to it. They didn't say, oh, this is called Charles Bonnet Syndrome. You can do some research about it. It was just like, oh, this is normal, just tell her. And they said, just tell her to sit back and enjoy the show. Now, that's what I did. As I said, we just made the best of it until it got to the point when I stopped even thinking about it. It just became my new normal. Just like doing makeup without a mirror is my normal. And so that's how we dealt with it. But it was really scary not having like a formal diagnosis of like, this is a real thing. This is the name on it. I think oftentimes diagnoses can be very empowering. They can be scary at first, but they can also be very empowering because it allows you to have a name to what you're experiencing, to feel less alone, to feel like there is other people out there with XYZ. And we didn't ever have that name. And that's why I want to talk about this, because I didn't hear the name or the term Charles Bonnet Syndrome until probably 2 years ago. And since then, I've only heard it like 2 or 3 times come up. And I want people to feel less alone. I want other people living with vision loss to talk about it, to not be scared. And the problem is, a lot of people fear when they come forward and talk about seeing things that aren't there, experiencing a visual hallucination. They will get misdiagnosed with some form of a mental illness or perhaps dementia, something like that. And the reason I say dementia is because many people who experience Charles Bonnet Syndrome are people who are elderly. And that's simply just due to the fact that most vision loss happens to elderly people due to things like age-related macular degeneration. And so a lot of elderly people will be going blind and simultaneously have visual hallucinations and be misdiagnosed with dementia or other forms of mental illness like schizophrenia. Now, the biggest differences between people with Charles Bonnet Syndrome and other conditions is that those of us living with Charles Bonnet Syndrome know that our visual hallucinations aren't real. We are grounded in reality and we stay present in reality the entire time visual hallucinations are happening. There are multiple kinds of visual hallucinations that people with Charles Bonnet Syndrome will experience. Some, like myself, experience geometric patterns, shapes, and flashing lights. People with Charles Bonnet Syndrome have zero control over their hallucinations. By the way, I will be linking lots of articles in the description box below so that you guys can have more resources to do your research if you believe this is something that you or a loved one might be experiencing. So people will experience things like I do. Mine are blue, green, and purple, and they've always remained the same, though what I see does not remain the same. As I said, I have no control over what I am seeing. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of squiggly lines and dots. in no particular pattern. They're mainly focused around the outer bottom edge on my left eye, and on my right eye, they're straight up and down in the center, mainly focused there, though they are entirely all over my visual field. I have them when I close my eyes. When I open them, they never go away. And other people experience actual full images, realistic images. Some people experience landscapes, like seeing mountains, green trees, landscapes like water. Other people will see historic figures. They will see real humans in historical outfits. And when I was around 8 years old, I did experience some of those more realistic hallucinations. I remember vividly thinking my family pet was a dark gray black dog on our cream carpet in the hallway. I vividly remember thinking he was there and then realizing he wasn't. And then I also have another distinct time, and I had told my mom about this, and I thought I had seen a ghost, but I now, having done research, believe it was more likely a Charles Bonnet Syndrome hallucination due to the fact that the timeline lines up. And I saw a young girl in an olden day outfit standing at the end of my bed. And so at first, for people experiencing those very realistic hallucinations, it can be quite scary because you might not know if somebody's actually in your house or not. But once you know what you're seeing isn't there, you stay fully rooted in reality. You have no mental break from reality. Everything you feel, smell, your conversation remains normal and intact with what's happening at the time. Now, a lot of people with Charles Bonnet Syndrome, the hallucinations will last for minutes to hours, though some people like myself will live with it constantly. I believe that fellow blind creator Lucy Edwards, I believe she experiences it constantly like myself. So there are people like me as well, but because it's so underreported, it is hard to get a full picture of, no pun intended, a full a full picture of what Charles Bonnet Syndrome looks like across the board. So the people who experience it for minutes to hours can try different tactics. Like if it happens when your eyes are closed, open them. If it happens when they're open, close them. You can leave the room to enter another room to change your environment. And those things might help, but there is absolutely no treatment that can be done for Charles Bonnet Syndrome. Now, Charles Bonnet Syndrome is generally seen in people with severe vision loss. So it usually doesn't happen to people who are closer to the legally blind end of the blindness spectrum. It usually happens in cases like mine, where the vision loss is quite significant, very severe deterioration of the retina. There are lots of theories as to why this happens. But again, because it's underreported, there hasn't been enough research done to conclusively know the exact reason people with significant trauma to the retina experience Charles Bonnet Syndrome. I believe it can happen with damage to other parts of the eye, but the most common reported from what I've seen is people living with retinal conditions, which is what I have, being retinitis pigmentosa. Literally says retina in the first part of the name, retinitis. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to tell you guys from my research. A lot of people will have Charles Bonnet Syndrome resolve within 12 to 18 months of the onset. Obviously, that did not happen for me. It's never changed, always gonna happen. As I said, it's different for me all the time. Like sometimes I see stars, sometimes I'll see like floating sailboats, which is really funny, but they don't look like real sailboats. They look like neon lights. If there was neon lights that made a sailboat, and there'll be like a bunch of sailboats all swimming around in my vision. And one report I thought was very interesting was this man who had just recently lost vision, I believe due to diabetes, type 1 diabetes, and had Charles Bonnet Syndrome with the very realistic hallucinations. He walked into his apartment, this was within like his first year or two of vision loss. He walked into his apartment, and in the living room he saw like a giant horse and carriage with I believe an older gentleman in olden day clothing sitting at the horse and carriage. So I can only imagine like how scary seeing very, very realistic things is, and I'm grateful that like if I have to have this, I have like literally just kind of like fireworks. For me, they do get more intense and less intense depending on certain things. Like if I stand up too quickly, they'll flood my vision and I just see nothing but full flashing colors and lights. The more tired or stressed I am, the more will flood my vision. The only thing that I can think, I believe, would replicate it is if sighted people close their eyes and push on them. Could you do that right now for me, Mom, and tell me if you see anything?
Okay, if I push
Just close your eyes and gently like push on.
There's definitely a flashing.
Okay, so that might kind of replicate a little bit of what I see 24/7. But yeah, that is Charles Bonnet Syndrome. And if you are living with this, just know you're not alone. And this is a part of the vision loss journey for apparently many of us. And it's interesting because until I heard Lucy Edwards talk about her experience with it, I know my doctors told me many times, yeah, lots of people experience this. But like I have never met, and I know so many blind people, I have so many blind friends, and I have never met anybody who has talked to me about experiencing this or said to me, yeah, I see that too. I don't even think I've seen in the comment section anybody else being like, yeah, I live with this too. So I remember when I saw Lucy talk about it, I was like, it is so nice to hear somebody who has like the same thing as me. Now I don't know that the colors she sees are the same as mine, but anyways, I just want to make this because I just want you to feel like less alone and that it's okay to talk about it and approach your doctor. And if you work in the medical field, I hope this is helpful, and I hope that in the near future, in the coming years, that the medical field will really catch up on this, and more understanding and awareness will be brought to the medical field. And also more research can be done, and the more of us who come forward and talk about this experience, the more research can be done to better understand why we live with this. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. I hope you sat down and had a nice cup of tea with me. Now you can go on about your merry way and enjoy the rest of your day. But if you're just chilling out and want a little bit more Molly in your life, you can click up here to watch me review accessible beauty products for the blind, or you can click over here to learn about how I do laundry and clean kitty litter and all the adult things. All right, see you next time. Bye.